So in this video I'd like to talk about how to make some nice clap snare hybrid type of sounds using just a vinyl crackle sample. So all I've got for this sound is this little vinyl crackle loop. So what I've done for this sound is I've isolated 3 little parts of this loop, and I've pitched them individually slightly different, so I'll just play them through so you can hear the different parts. So you can hear I've got some sort of click layer, and this one is this actually sounds a little bit like a clap already. You can see this one is -20 semitones, -11, -15. So those values are really random, it doesn't matter. You can adjust it to taste. I think it is nice to transpose them somewhat differently, so you've got a bit of diversity in the sound. And you can really experiment with what you use for this. I'm just using this noise loop to show you that you can really do this with anything, with any sort of attack, any sort of items you have in your room. Record them and you can use them for this, and really make it your own. I think that's important. Okay, so this is what it sounds like when you layer them together with no processing. As you can see, there's nothing on them. Just got a frequency shifter which is doing nothing at the moment, making a little bit more mono, and I've turned the volume down a bit. So it's kind of boring right now. You can play around with the pitch if you'd like, and just as a nice master pitch for the group. I quite like that. So now I'd like to just take a look at the EQ and see what's happening there. So for me there's a lot of low end, there's not much high end. I do like to keep the high end a little bit empty. I find it quite harsh sometimes. And for this experimental kind of sound, I don't think you need to really have a lot of brightness here. So I'm just going to cut a little bit and boost, just to taste. I'm going to try and boost and cut in really wide cuts and boosts. At this point I'm not really trying to isolate a certain frequency. I'd rather push a broad band up or down. Otherwise you'll be left with some strange harsh resonances, which is not really what you want. So it's a little bit quiet, we can turn that up. So this is basically the attack of our sound. There's no body to it, there's just that little click. And I think I would like to layer this with another short clap or snare sound to make it a bit more viable on the dance floor. Some people might like a more traditional sort of 909 clap. I'm just going to have a look what samples I have, and you can just make do with what you have, or record your own clap. That's also a nice exercise. Try and make some samples yourself. So I'm just going to have a look through my sample library. So I found 2 samples that I quite like for different reasons. This one's a bit loud. So both of these claps sound quite different, and I just want to use them to back up our nice attack sample that we have here. So I'm going to isolate a little section where I find tonally works for me. Now this is not really something that you can follow in a tutorial. in a right or wrong way. I think you got to kind of develop the ear and listen to some tracks and see what you like. I'm looking for a sort of mid-range, not too artificial sounding tone. So I'm going to see if I can isolate that. Okay, so I like the sound of this. I'm going to try and blend it in with the other claps and see if it works. If it doesn't, I'll try the other one. So I'm going to not take the attack of this sound, and I'm just going to try and blend the tail end of this to taste with the rest here. I think I'm going to try the other one as well, and maybe we can lay them together. So I'm going to do the exact same thing, look for a part of this that I really like, and blend it to taste. I think that sounds quite good. So what I'm going to do now is work on the timing of these and see if I can spread them out a little bit. If you look at, for example, a 909 clap, you'll see it's actually made out of a couple of different attack transients, and that makes up the clap. So I would like to create a similar effect with these, and sort of stagger them across time so that it's not all hitting on the same time, and it's not unnecessarily layering the attack, just creating a really loud peak, and sort of masking each other. Also, this is a little bit left panned. It's not technically wrong, but I don't really like the sound of it, so I'm going to try and bring that in a little bit. So that's a real nice click. I think that should be the first click that you hear. We can crop this a little bit. It's also another nice click. I'm gonna not layer these on the exact same spot. I would like to just spread them out. So now you can really hear the original sample that we made with the vinyl noise, and just a subtle supporting layer with a little bit more of a classic clap sound that you would hear in a minimal house track. And I think now it's really about getting the blend right. to me that sounds pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is just resample this, so I've got it all in one nice audio channel, and then put some processing on it, and I think we'll be done then. So important to notice that we didn't record right on the bar line, so I'm going to crop it that I don't cut off that little first peak. That sounds quite good, I think. The next step for me is just some slight EQing and maybe put a drum bass on there, see what that does. A little bit of saturation and compression always helps. We don't really need that low end for a clap sound. You can hear it doesn't add too much. We don't want to kill the fundamental sort of body of it, but the real sub low is really not that useful. And I'm going to give a little boost here just to boost the fundamental, and then boost a little bit of the high to let it punch through the mix just a tiny bit more. So that sounds good to me. Another little trick, if you want the clap to be really snappy and short, and I quite like that sound for a real minimal style, there's a nice trick in Ableton to really cut down the sample without any plugins. So what we've got to do is make sure we're in the beats mode. Make sure we've got this selected, and now this value becomes the place where we edit basically the tail end of the sample. It works on the transient, so now you'll hear it'll be very, very short and snappy, and you can blend that to taste depending on how long you want it. You could double this up and really have like a parallel short attack layer to the original sample. What you could do now is pitch this whole section so that you have just the attack and pitch it up a little bit, which might make it a little bit more sharp and snappy. So I think that's it. This really shows you can make a clap out of anything. You don't need to buy tons of samples. You can use white noise, you can use vinyl Crackle. As long as you know how to layer sounds properly, I think you can come up with some cool results. So I would definitely recommend just trying some stuff out, experimenting. Recording some sounds yourself is nice. I think you can download a free vinyl Crackle sample and see what you can make with that. And I definitely recommend this technique for minimal house, micro house, deep house, anything like that. But try it with any genre, and I think you'll come up with some cool results.